August 29, 2016, it is 4:30 p.m. in the Thomas J. Smith Council Chambers. We're going to call this work session to order. And before we get started, I just want to send out a congratulations just briefly to Sean and Sherelle Coleman. Congratulations on your wedding. Number 2, public hearing, consideration of the sale of property locally known as 118 North Main Street, City of Burlington, Des Moines County, Iowa, with conditions. Mr. Chisholm.
This was discussed a little bit previously. Zoom in here. Frank Millard Company has expressed an interest in acquiring the property at 118 North Main Street. They're currently under construction of their building there, basically in the block between Front and Main, Market and Valley, and wanted to take this opportunity to inquire whether this lot would be available to expand their building even with Valley Street and Main Street. They currently own the buildings at 101 North Main Street, and for consideration of purchase of 118, they would demolish and transfer ownership of the property at 101 North Main Street, which would allow the city to expand the existing parking lot further to the south, retaining the parking needed for the public, while also the portion needed for the police department, which was the intended use of 118 North Main Street. So as part of the condition of sale, the transfer of ownership shall be completed by September 1st of 2017. They've indicated they'd probably do that over this fall and winter, not wait until that later time period. The properties at 101 North Main shall be demolished, completely removing the structures and floors from the property prior to transfer ownership, and an escrow in the amount of $10,000 shall be deposited with the city until upon approval of the resolution prior to transfer of the deed, to ensure that the demolition does take place. And the company shall maintain the property at 101 North Main Street until it is transferred to the city of Burlington. So essentially this is a land, purchase of land for the sale of another piece of land in similar condition, demolishing the structures, and the lot sizes are very similar. The one the city would be acquiring is slightly larger in square footage, but they are very similar.
Council.
Do you have any idea when the tenant at 101 North Main will have to be out of that property?
He hasn't stated. He said in his email, upon approval by the city, he would notify them and give them the time to move out. He didn't set a specific date that I'm aware of. But like I said, he did hope to demolish the building this winter sometime.
In the spring?
This winter, later fall or winter was his goal, but he didn't specify a time frame.
Is that gonna be enough time?
No.
Our,
Uh,
It can work, well, for the other tenant.
they found a new location, but it's not gonna be ready for 3 or 4 months.
We can talk with them too between now and next week and make
Yeah.
sure that we've got time on that.
our city resolution gives him to September 2017, so it'd just be, but we can talk to him on that. And,
Just to make sure he's
Make sure they're
providing them
working.
enough time.
yeah.
I like the idea overall. I think this is a good move.
Everybody's good? Good. All right. Next, we have a public hearing, consideration of a permanent encroachment agreement with Tracy Thompson for encroachment into city right-of-way at 129 Polk Street, Burlington, Iowa. Mr. Tisland.
This is a request, and Tracy's here, might be able to answer any more detailed questions, but Tracy owns the property at 129 Polk Street, on both sides of the alley, north and south of the alley, here just east of Main Street. It is a dead-end alley that the alley right-of-way continues on over the hillside there, but the actual paved and useful portion ends behind his property. Had some issues, I guess, neighboring kids and such getting into the property, had some concerns over liability and just wanting to maintain the property there. So he requested for an encroachment to put up a gate at this location. It would be a non-lockable gate, just to, I guess, define the ownership of the property there. Did send this for review. A couple of comments from Public Works. One being just not wanting to put up a gate on public property without going through the vacating process or in granting easements back to the property. From the other end, from Chris Clements, did not have an issue with the encroachment so long as the gate is not locked or shut. It's not locked, only shut and latched. They have a manhole at the end of the yard that they only have to access periodically. Alliant does have a line that runs down the alley of the alley off Main Street. They just need to be able to gain access to the facilities at all times. And then as far as garbage would need to be set out on the side, on the east side of the gate, so that staff would have to go inside the gate to open that. Couple images just showing the location there. So at the back side of this garage here is the edge of the property line. As you see, the alley dead ends. It does not go over the hillside. This is from the view with Main Street here in the bottom looking up. It is quite a hillside going up there where the alley ends, and the gate would be on the back side of these two garages in front of this one. And again, just showing the location approximately where that would be. So somewhat of a unique request. Tracy, if you have any other information or anything or any questions, he's here as well to be able to answer that.
It's kind of, well, one thing. is-
Tracy, can I have you come to that way? That's all right. That's all right.
One thing, I was looking at it as being a safety issue for the small children, not only in my house, but in the houses in the area. We did have one child run into our garage and get bit by our dog. The other issue is vehicles sometimes come down there and they try and turn around on our property, and there's really no room for vehicles to come down and turn down.
Right
on
out
our
your
property.
yard?
I have children out in the yard, and that's kind of a concern too.
I mean, like I did this afternoon,
Did you? That's okay.
except I turned around at 120 instead.
Oh, okay, I didn't get an email of that from the camera, so. But, we do have cameras up. We used to take care of an elderly gentleman on the property with Alzheimer's, and so we just kind of see things going on. We recently had, my son had some lawn mowing equipment disappear, and we love living in town. We love living in that area. We love Burlington. We just like our property a little defined for our family and our children.
Any other questions for Tracy?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Council, you guys got any comments on that?
I don't at this
No,
time.
I'm not having any issues with this.
Okay. Just keep rolling. Thanks for coming down, Tracy.
Thank you so much.
Next, public hearing, consideration of an ordinance rezoning the property located at 2910 Madison Avenue from R1 Single Family Residential to C1 Limited Commercial Zoning District. Give me the first reading on that. Mr. Tisland.
And this is the former Klein Center here at the corner of Kestner and Madison Street. Had a request, application to rezone from Cody Ford, the current owner of the property, initially to R4 and then changed it to C1 Limited Commercial, and that's what went forward. Looking at making it into, I guess on his application, making it into apartments, and then mentioned possible use of the kitchen for restaurant on the main floor. Could be considered. So this did go to the Planning Commission on July 19th to consider the rezoning of the property. The Planning Commission voted 1-3 to recommend approval, so they did not recommend approval by a vote of 1-3. Recommendation was based on the potential negative impact of a commercial business on the existing residential neighborhood, based on the future land use map of this area being low-density residential, and lack of support for the request at the hearing. The applicant was at the hearing at the Planning Commission, but did not get up and speak in favor of the proposal or state any details about the proposal. The Planning Commission did discuss the possibility of considering alternative residential zoning designations for this property, particularly R4, which is to the west of this, or possible C1 designation with conditions limiting the use of the property. At this time, there's no development plans that have been submitted. rezoning's just based on speculation and trying to market the property. If someone were to have some plans, we certainly would be willing to work with them on what zoning designation would fit best. Looking at it, different things have been tossed out, and it might be a combination of C2 general commercial uses or R4 multifamily, but those don't always go together, so it might be something like a PUD that will have to come forward based on the uses that they're desiring. Under C1, a restaurant can only be up to 10,000 square feet. The main floor of this building is 40,000 square feet, so there's a lot of up in the air, just even based on the C1. So we are aware it does need to be rezoned, whether that be R4 for multifamily residential uses or some sort of PUD or mixed-use type zoning just for reuse of this building. But at this time, without the owner or applicant coming forward with some firm plans, it's just kind of throwing out a zoning to kind of fit with what he might be able to market the property. So it makes it
You said
difficult
the
for staff.
applicant was at the hearing,
He was at the hearing but did not speak
a
at the
man from
hearing.
California.
Cody Ford, he's, I think,
This is something.
local individual is, I guess, he has a PO box here. I'm not sure if he's from California or not, but
Now, they talked about, the first that I saw this was reading in the paper, talked about a hotel. Was that part of the request that was brought to the planning and zoning?
no, not at this time.
It wasn't on the form, it wasn't brought up until later?
Yeah, I think it's just a maybe general discussion about,
Did
again, possible uses.
And as he requested C1, which is what was on the request form, does that even allow a hotel?
No, that doesn't.
So he didn't even request the zoning application for what was in that article or talked about in the public. So-
Where'd that information come from?
That didn't come to the council, or to the planning and zoning. He brought that up speaking with the paper afterwards. That wasn't part of his request to the planning and zoning commission. And it's not that he wouldn't consider it, from my understanding, Eric, it's just he doesn't know how he would like to use it really yet.
Yeah, right now he's looking to develop and market the building, I think, and wanting a change in zoning, because R1 is really limiting on the property, and we realize that. It's just he doesn't know what uses might come forward to sell the property for, and unless we know, we can't fit the zoning designation to that. And looking at the large scale of it, it might take a PUD to fit the best uses in that, and we can't do a PUD without knowing what provisions are going into that, because C2 limits residential out of it, R4 limits some of the commercial out of it, so it's just a difficult building like a lot of our schools are, old
Yeah.
hospitals, and until we have an actual proposal, it's hard for us to make a recommendation on that, so that's where I think the staff report came from, and where the planning commission came from is there's no proposal to develop the building at this time, it's just a rezoning to make it more marketable going forward, but
Okay.
Personally, we can communicate to him, I'd be willing to listen to proposal. I'm just to rezone, to be rezoning, I can't see doing that. Like you say,
you know.
if they come forward with a specific plan, I'd certainly be willing to listen to that, even a PUD.
And in the past, with other developers that have looked at apartments, we realize R4 is directly to the west across from Madison, and that would make sense to do it, just no owner has come forward requesting that at this time. And he initially had that on his application, but then changed it to C1, so.
Right.
I just think that needs to be rezoned, period. I would love to just do it and have it done with, but R1's not gonna happen on that
No.
building. So, I mean, I don't have a problem. Council?
If I had anything to say, it'd be the same thing Jim just said, that if, I'm not at all opposed to having a commercial operation there. I don't think there could be a much there couldn't be a higher use than a hospital. So I wouldn't object to any kind of commercial operation. We just need to know what it is. I hate to make it a C1 and then go back to an R4 and then go to a C4.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't make sense, yeah, I agree.
I think it'd be better if they come forward and just let them, I would stipulate that I'm in favor of looking at anything they wanna bring forward.
Me too, yeah.
Be happy to help them, get to that point. I don't wanna
That Klein
just
Hospital.
rezone to rezone.
Down to rezone. Councilwoman?
More people look at that.
Anything on this?
Nothing to add, no.
Okay. All right, well, we'll get a chance to talk about it. Number 5, motion for preliminary adoption of the second reading of an ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 155 International Building Code of the City of Burlington Municipal Code. Saw that, rascal. Mr. Tesla.
No changes from the previous reading. Again, this is adopting the 2015 edition of the International Building Code, going from the 2012 to 2015. And then we have the one amendment to the code where emergency escape and rescue section, where in fully sprinkled buildings, they do not have to meet the requirements on floor 2 and 3 that they, of having a bedroom window, whereas on floors 4 and above under the code, it does not require that. So making that for all bedrooms above floor 1. That's the primary change to that, in addition to going to the 2015 code. But no changes from the previous reading.
Council? Anything?
Question?
We
Fair
okay
to waive.
to wait a bit? Wait?
I'm cool with it. On both.
Yep.
I'll just go ahead, since we're here. Mr. Tisland, motion for, number 6 is a motion for preliminary adoption of the second reading of an ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 156, International Existing Building Code of the City of Burlington Municipal Code. And
Again, going to the 2015, and then the main change or add in here is already in our International Building Code. It's just to make it clear for upper story units based on 3 stories and no more than 4 dwelling units, what their requirements are for sprinklers. So that's already in our code and in other sections. Just want to clarify in this one as well.
so we're good to go on that too. You guys satisfied with waiving that?
As long as no one has comments, we're happy.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, number 7, resolution authorizing reserved parking along Valley Street to the east of Main Street.
This is tied to the sale of the property at 118 Main Street. As we talked about before, the city, per the lease for the US Bank property, for their US Bank's use of it, has to provide 18 parking spaces for US Bank use, and currently they use that in 118 North Main Street. We do have 5 available spaces in the parking lot just to the south of US Bank, but the other spots would need to be, or are considered to be on-street for the length of time that US Bank is occupying the building at 201 Jefferson Street, and parking would be reserved for US Bank use from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. This was the plan discussed previously, just putting in angle parking on the south side of Valley Street, and then designating the number of spots required to meet that 18 requirement in front of Frank Millard Company.
Council?
I'm just curious why we picked that location instead of Main Street on the west side. Traveling through there, most often I see those spots vacant, and the ones along Valley Street are usually occupied.
I think the main reason that was chosen was we were gonna make a few extra spots on there. I don't think there was a rhyme or reason if we wanted to put them on the other spot. It's closer to the bank, and I don't think they'd object to it at all. They wouldn't get enough right there on that, immediately in front of the bank, but could certainly have some of them there.
No,
He's talking
Main
down
Street,
here.
I'm talking about next to the parking lot next
One
to
block
our
Oh,
south.
it's
parking
a
lot.
block south.
Yeah. Yeah, the ones next to the bank usually have vehicles parked there,
Yeah.
but
How
that
many,
just seems that there's seldom vehicles parked there, and there's no business there. It's just the parking lot.
how many spaces would there be? If we
13.
did that? No, if we did as Councilman Scott is suggesting.
I think from the railroad tracks up to Valley, I don't know if there's 6 or 7 there. You'd have to make up some additional spaces somewhere else.
Yeah.
And Frank Miller Company offered these since they're all in front of his business. They're all directly adjacent to his business. Felt it would have the least impact, and that's why it was brought forward. It's he didn't have a problem telling his customers or his staff that they couldn't park in front of there was the reason that space was
Temporary
chosen.
anyway.
It's
gonna be-
temporary, yeah.
It's gonna
Well,
be.
the only reason I'm saying that is because we had an email and I had a phone call from one of the business owners down there that was rather upset when we changed the time on the parking from 2 hours to 4 hours. And it's, now the parking spaces that were available for his customers aren't available anymore because people tend to take that longer term parking. And but he was a little put out by that. I just hate to see us reserve those spots right next to his business and when there's others available.
See the point.
The principle I'm all right with, it's just the location's a little concerning.
Any other support with Tim on that?
I'm okay with the way it is.
I'm okay with the way it is.
By a year from now, it's gonna.
How many
be out of it.
spots are they adding with this?
They're going, I think, from 3 spots there to, I think there's 10, so they're adding 7 or 8 additional spots.
So there is still a loss of spots, but
In the long term, they'll be adding spots there. But
out of the 11, 7 of them are gonna be new spots. Or about 7 of them. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I hate to see.
He'll call
somebody-
you tomorrow, I'm sure.
I didn't get the email, I couldn't get into mine, so
Oh, it wasn't recent, it was when we changed the times. I'm sure he hasn't seen this yet, but if it comes out in the paper tomorrow, he'll be calling.
Okay, okay. Okay, next week, anybody have any problem with number 1? Resolution approving nuisance abatements, any issues with the nuisance abatements?
Of course.
Fed up with that?
All right, number 2, resolution approving final acceptance, final payment, and release of retention monies for the 2016 BN sanitary sewer repair project. Brian?
Just project closeout for the BN sanitary sewer repair project. Had a couple of issues come up during the project where previous construction wasn't quite what we anticipated. A couple of manholes that we intended to retain that used to connect to cleanouts ended up having to be removed, so that increased the cost just a little bit. So you see a little bit of quantity adjustment up. Project went a little bit longer than the contract period, so a little bit of liquidated damages there. Overall, it's about $400 over the original bid. Any questions from council?
Thank you.
Man, I can't believe you. You know, I mean, you couldn't have kept that at like $3.99 over? That was a joke, Ryan. Relax, man. Smile a little bit. You guys got any questions, any comments for Ryan?
No.
I do not.
Thank you, sir. Next is the, you stand right there. Next is the resolution approving final acceptance, final payment, and release of retention monies for the 2015 sanitary sewer rehab project.
Closing out another project. This one took a lot longer to get done now. This is the sewer lining project that was started back in 2015. Lining sewers in the downtown area, primarily the sewer of concern was the brick sewer under Main Street. Due to a number of underground issues and weather concerns, the project continued through the winter and a couple change orders in each direction. A little bit of quantity adjustment, and again, the project went beyond the contract completion date after change orders. So a few liquidated damages there as well. Be nice to get this one off the books.
Questions for Ryan? Okay, thank you.
Done.
You gonna stay right there? No?
So,
All right. Number 4. It's a resolution awarding contract for facility planning of the Market Street Sub-Basin Sewer Separation Project.
I have some information on that. From Charlie's been working on this. Part of this will assist in turning the preliminary Mazel sewer study done by RJN into a facility plan acceptable for the SRR program. This will allow city to use SRF loans next spring on the Market Street Sewer Project. This is important because SRF loans are the source of our federal match in the flood project. Secondly, V&K will help the city use the facility plan and complete an environmental review to apply for a CDBG sewer grant, which could net up to $800,000 in grant funding for the sewer projects. And then third, V&K will assist in creating a watershed analysis and in applying for a sponsor project in conjunction with their SRF loan for the Market Street project next spring. The sponsor project allows the city to divert up to 1% of the interest paid on a loan for use as a green infrastructure project. So that's kind of the essentials of what this is doing.
Council? No problem.
Moving right
Jim?
along.
When do we start digging?
This isn't digging, unfortunately. This is background work.
I know.
When do we start backgrounding? All right. Number 5, resolution authorizing agreement with Impact 7G. I see you watching. With Impact 7G for project services associated with the former Dresser Rand site cleanup project. Mr. Tisland.
So this, again, with our Dresser-Ran cleanup, looking to move forward with that. They would complete the project observation and sampling as required through the DNR. Also doing the land recycling program reporting and coordination. This is all work that they've been working on, doing the testing and submitting the samples and requirements through the DNR over the past couple years on the site. So this would continue that, and then working with our contractor on the removal and demolition of the concrete at the site and making sure everything's done according to the requirements of the DNR. The project observation and sampling would be done on a time and materials basis, and the IDNR land recycling program reporting and coordination would be a lump sum $6,500.
Council, any problems with that?
No.
It's been a long project, coming to a close. Good deal. Number 6, it's a resolution to install stop signs on Angular Street at the intersection of 9th Street, Madison Avenue, and Angular Street. Nick?
Would you put the site distance map up there first? We received a complaint back in July about the dangerousness, about inability to see around the corner at the alleyway, just west of 9th Street, which is the analysis done further down on the bottom. After staff took a look at it, we discussed removing parking or putting a stop sign up. All of us that came to an agreement that putting a stop sign up would be a better alternative than removing the parking. It would bring that site distance closer in on a stopped vehicle. The crashes in that area warrant stop signs, as well as the number of traffic that goes through there. There's 26 accidents at that intersection between 2004 and 2014.
Well, I was just going to say, there's not that many accidents there. I was going to say, I just don't understand why we got to put a stop sign there, but I still don't like a stop sign there, but
Let me tell you about a ride that I took through that intersection.
come here, kid, let me tell you something.
It was quite exciting, driving through that intersection, getting halfway through, and then flipping over on your top and going the rest of the way through the intersection. And even with lights and sirens going, they still didn't stop. They just kept coming in.
You're smarty pants, Tim.
I'm not a smarty pants, I'm telling you the truth. John Stearns and I rode through that intersection halfway upside down because we got hit broadside, responding to a call out of James Madison. You remember that, Chief?
Yes, sir.
See, I'm not fibbing, he remembers it.
Okay, I wouldn't call you a fibber.
It's, that hill, when you're coming from the north, headed south, it is very hard to see around the hill, let alone the vehicles that are parked there when you're responding to an emergency call. next to it possible, so.
I still think we need to take a look at Angular. There's a stop sign too on one side, something needs to be done. We move the parking back on Angular and Summer Street, but, all right, council?
Yeah, they need to take that hill out there too,
You take the hill out.
and the house.
So, should this be on the consent agenda? You think we'll get
I
any
don't-
comments?
I would I would rather not have this on
Likely the
consent.
gentleman that made a complaint thought that no parking was a better solution to that, so he may be involved. I know we sent him a letter.
Put on regular.
Uh,
Why don't we
yeah,
just go ahead and move it to the regular.
Yeah.
What was that?
Amen,
Amen, brother.
Go ahead and move it to the regular agenda.
Amen. Sounds good. You guys satisfied then?
But it is a problem intersection, so.
I didn't know there were that many accidents there. I mean, I know it's,
Yep, and then there was
busy-
two further down at the alleyway, also because of the high.
Plus you got,
likely
plus you
because of
got
the
the
high
high,
V.
the people coming in and out of High V, which is
Yeah.
another issue.
There's a lot of unloading
Apparently.
and loading on the south side of
Yeah.
Angular.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Nick.
okay. Number 7 is a resolution supporting and approving application to the Wellmark Foundation's Community Kickstarter Grant Program for improvements to the Edwin and Gladys White Park. City manager? Okay.
This is a application, we're looking at doing some playground improvements at White Park. We got an email from the Wellmark Foundation. We've gotten some other funds from them in the past about this program, that they'll provide up to $10,000 for parks or other recreation facilities, active type uses, that they deem, I guess, creates a healthier community. So there's no local match or anything. We're doing a project already in this, when we thought we could take the project a little further with this grant opportunity. So it's something, the resolution just shows support. If we don't get it, we're still moving forward with the project. If we do get it, we're able to do a little bit more in that park to make improvements and make it a little better park from a use and appearance standpoint.
Is that in this fiscal year?
Yeah, yep. We have some Starker funds designated that we moved up to this year.
Okay. And you did, Council, Eric did get a couple of thank you
Photographs.
cards in regards to the park. They're in your reader file, just
Water fountain
for the water fountain.
Yes.
So there were a couple of folks who were pretty happy to see that we finally got that taken care of.
Council?
Sounds good.
Okay, all right. Councilwoman has stated, it sounds good. We can move. Number 8. Were you gonna say something? Okay.
I just didn't know.
Okay. Number 8, resolution approving an agreement with the Iowa Department of Transportation for maintenance and repair of primary roads and municipalities. Mr. McGregor?
This is a 5-year renewal of the DOT contract with us for Roosevelt for 61. So there's nothing that's changed since the prior 5-year agreement, but hasn't through resolution.
Not that there aren't things in it that we don't like, but
Correct. There wasn't things that I like
Correct.
from the previous agreement, but I don't know that there's much we can do to push back against the DOT.
Seriously doubt it.
As a side note on this, if someone in the community group is interested in hanging banners from the lights along Roosevelt, can they do that, or do they need DOT approval, or can we approve it?
That's a good question.
meaning he doesn't know.
I don't have that answer,
I
but
don't
I'll
know.
find that out for you.
Would you? Yeah, I don't know either, so that's why I asked.
I would guess the same thing.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what
it's our light infrastructure, but it's the clearance of the lights.
Yeah, that's what I figured too, but I thought,
You
I'd
know,
wanna ask.
pending deal where people wanna do that, or?
Yeah.
Yes, I kinda thought so.
Maybe we should have to get that in this agreement.
Anyway,
We can amend
okay.
it if you like.
I didn't mean to spring that on you, Nick,
No,
but it
it's
just
fine.
happened, it came up on my, all right.
Thank you, sir. You guys good?
Yep.
Okay. Number 9, resolution omitting fees for Dankwart Park Pool.
This was brought back because we never voted on the, we voted to amend the resolution, but we never voted on the resolution as amended. So it came back for your approval again. She put a wording change in here too. and that's in item number 3 on the whereas. On the free day, the admission to the pool shall be open to all of the public with youth 18 and under free of charge. That's a little bit different wording than what we'd had in it before, so, and it makes it a little bit clearer for what happens with other adults.
You guys good with that?
I think that was the
Yes.
gist of what we wanted to do.
It was the gist, it just, we
Yeah.
didn't have wording
It's
for
all
it.
right.
All right, moving right along. Number 10 is a resolution approving the purchase of easements from 163 Crestview, PIN number 1609358004, and from an unaddressed lot on South 10th Street, PIN number 1608455029, for the construction of storm sewer associated with the 2016 Cascade Watershed Sewer Separation Project Phase 2. Ryan?
Unlike the other couple of things that were wrapping up projects, this is trying to get projects going. We let the 2016 Cascade Watershed Sewer Separation Project Phase 2. Earlier in the year, there's about 7 divisions, maybe 6, 7 divisions on the project. There's a few easements that need to be acquired in particular divisions for work to occur in those divisions. Overall, there's 4 easements that we're looking at. This is 2 easements of those 4. They will open up 2 of those divisions for work for the contractor. Contractor hasn't yet begun work. He's got materials ordered. We're looking on getting a pre-construction meeting this week so that they can begin work. But these are needed for 2 of those locations.
Questions for Ryan? What Jim just did. Something
Nice
like
and
that.
easy.
All right.
Thank you, Ryan.
Okay, we've got 3 public hearings. Consideration of sale of property, 1118 Maple Street. Consideration of sale of property, 1505 Etna Street. And then consideration of an ordinance rezoning the property located on west side of South Main Street between Maple Street and Spruce Street from M1 Light Industrial to C1 Limited Commercial Zoning. Do you need to address anything, Mr. Tislin?
No, just setting hearings for these.
Stephanie, go. How you doing?
2 treasurer's reports in the packet. It's still the preliminary June 30th, 2016. We're just still accruing expenses back and revenues back. So the general fund, though, is going to end as predicted, about 12%, right, Jim? Is
Sure, that sounds
where
good.
we're hoping to be up to.
Sure,
We're
that's-
getting closer to that 15%, which is our goal. So,
Yeah, no doubt.
the accounts that still have the deficit balances are the ones that are still planning to be paid off in the next few years, so. And then also July's treasurer's report's in there. It's a little bare because most of the things that we receive in July, we've accrued back to June, so. You have some expenses, but there's not a lot until we get through the end of the year. Did anybody have any questions or?
Not I.
I guess from the general fund's perspective, the budgeted, I think the budgeted increase in general fund balance was just shy of $100,000. An increase in net cash position for the year. Right now, it's $380,000.
Yeah.
That's not a final number, but we're getting close to a final number at this point in the year.
What would you guess that will be?
Not too far off of this. I think I had a little, or like 350,000 on my spreadsheet, but,
Really?
we're doing some guessing. I don't know what you have left. Maybe some one Alliant bill. I don't even know if you have that left.
No, it's more of the accruing of the revenues and the estimates, like.
So it's gonna be higher if anything. You've gotten the last bills in.
Good.
And then the only other thing is audit adjustments.
Right,
Okay.
which hopefully we won't have any.
Steph, as usual, good job.
Way to go.
Also, I'll add, this is
Oh,
gonna,
yeah.
the resolution that was at your desk, and then there were 2 back there. This will be added, this came from Bob Jostin this afternoon, so it didn't get actually on the, I'm assuming we'll probably have this on consent unless you want it somewhere else. Basically, we had a SRF loan. This is one of those with the Iowa Finance up to $1 million. We were drawing down on a Mazel study. That intern loan expired June 21st of 2016, so they've agreed to extend it another 3 years. We've drawn down about 530,000 of the million, so we don't have all the planning and design done as maybe Brian can, if there's anything else he has to add, but this will be extended. Basically, before the next 3 years is up, we will have a construction loan, and these amounts will roll to that construction loan.
The next first Mazel project based off of this study will have this rolled into it.
Right, so,
And the nice thing about this is it is 0% while we're in planning,
right.
0%.
until
So
we go to
this is just
construction
extending
phase.
it. Are we done with all the planning and design? We just haven't gotten to the
You know,
construction phase?
I think we're pretty much,
Okay, so we still have more, okay,
the design for the first phase.
okay. But so that's what this resolution is, it's just approving that we're gonna extend it for the next 3 years at a 0% interest rate, so.
Sounds good.
Okay, with consent?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Steph.
That reminds me, you want to talk about what you got from Bob
I
Johnston?
got something else from Bob Johnston later Friday as well, for the Apollo Building, urban renewal plan amendment, setting date for that, which would allow a TIF rebate, for that project if it were to move forward. But we have to amend our urban renewal plan to allow for that type of rebate.
Yeah.
The
Now,
previous amendment we did was just for the demolition cost on it.
what we talked about doing and now this is based off of, Richard Silva coming in and wanting to move forward. We talked with Bob Johnston about what steps do we need to take next? And he wanted to make sure that whatever we did, we structured to where it was, not, developer specific and had a little bit of flexibility. What we have, that we're looking to do on this is a TIF doing a public hearing with the idea of establishing a TIF rebate of up to $1 million over a period of 15 years. 100% TIF rebate with a cap of $1 million as a max. Now with Richard Silva, with their group, if you were willing to work with them and had a desire to move forward with that consideration, our recommendation is a cap of 700,000 actually based on that project, because that's what the match is based requirement for the state funds if they're based off of the project they submitted. Now, that all being said, all of this only makes sense if you're willing to move forward with the idea of pursuing doing a project with Richard Silva. If you feel that if a majority of the council would rather at this point say, no, we're done with looking at those options and we'd like to do a demolition of the structure, we need to turn this down.
I want to say for the record, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm one of those people that I'm backing out. I'm out. I don't want to spend the money on tearing it down, but I want to say this now. I just don't, going in, when I talked to him, he said that it was going to be for elderly people. Well, that got changed up, and I just don't like the direction that this project is going. I don't. And I just want to go ahead and say that now.
I'm in favor of demolition.
And since you're asking, back when Miller Valentine came their proposal, my position was I was willing to let them give it a shot, and if they couldn't do it, then that was gonna be it for me, and we were done with it. And so Miller Valentine is done, then I'm done, so we're gonna tear it down.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
I was with Jim when he made that statement, and I'm not changing my position now, so.
I'm still gonna put this item, setting the public hearing, on the regular agenda for this next time, so you can have a formal motion as an action item to make that decision. Cause I just feel better if you did that, cause what that means is that we'd be looking then to start the steps for demolition. So this will
I
be,
think that's a better.
setting this public hearing for doing the TIF rebate will be on the agenda for next week. And that's where you can take a formal action one way or another.
Public hearing won't be.
No,
but
it's
setting the
a
hearing.
set date, and it'll be on regular agenda, not consent.
Okay.
So what are you saying, we
Sounds
can vote?
So you can vote it down,
Say we
make,
don't wanna have a public hearing, is that what you're saying?
correct. And we can start, you can direct us at that point to formally start the process for demolition. But I'd feel more comfortable if you're able to do that, where it's in a spot where you can take a formal action on it.
That's a good point.
Okay. We just got number 2 left. Mr. Warner, come on down. Comprehensive appraisal of properties.
You came to the right meeting, instead of sitting through a 3-hour thing.
Okay,
right?
well, yeah, I haven't been several years, I didn't really know this back. Just, this is a copy of kind of the press release we gave to the newspaper for this upcoming reappraisal project. Basically, I just wanted to come to talk to the council and, kind of explain the reappraisal project and where we are, with that project. Basically, what it is a mass reappraisal of all the real property in Des Moines County. The last time we had one of these was in 1998, so it's been several years. The Department of Revenue likes you to do it on a more regular basis, 10 to 12-year range, so we're clearly due for this project. What we're doing, the first phase is basically commercial, industrial, and multi-residential property. And what that entails is basically going on site, doing inspections, verifying our records are accurate, measurements all the way down to conditions of the quality of the property, any kind of physical aspect of that building that we keep record of. We actually go on site and look at that and make sure our data is accurate. When you're doing appraisal work in a mass appraisal approach like we do at the county level, having good data is vital to having equitable assessments. We try as we can to stay on top of building permits, but there's over 15 or so thousand properties in Des Moines County, and we have a staff of 4. So these mass reappraisal projects are necessary so we can get manpower here to do inspections on a broad scale. So like I said, the first phase will be commercial, industrial, and then the new multi-residential classification. Work will happen starting this September here towards the end of next month. They'll be here pretty much year-round. The values will go in effect for 2018 year. That's when, for assessment 2018, payable 19 and 20. Again, I guess I wanted to stress, and most of you probably understand this, but the reappraisal project is it's not a project to gain revenue. My office's job is not to gain revenue or increase revenue, it's to maintain equitable assessments across the board. And that's what the reappraisal project really is for, is to make sure everybody's paying their fair slice of the pie, I guess you could say, so.
What do you do, Matt, when you reappraise a property and there's work that was done to it that was not gone through the proper channels? What happens on that? Anything?
Like when a building permit's not taken out, things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we see that a lot, currently, not even just through a big reappraisal project, but we'll come across stuff like that. We report it to whoever the authority it would be to have a permit, either, the city of Burlington or the city of West Burlington. There's really no recourse we have other than just adding that value to the property, or sometimes demolition takes away value. We just either add or subtract it, but we do pass that information along to people if there is a need for a building permit on it. So basically, like I said, this is the first phase. The commercial, industrial, multi-res is the first phase, and then we're gonna go straight into the residential after this, and that'll be for 2019. So once this project starts, we're pretty much gonna have people from the company that we're contracting with here in town doing these inspections. I should have mentioned that we do contract with Vanguard Appraisals Incorporated. They do this appraisal work throughout the Midwest. They're very predominant here in Iowa. They do help us with the data collection, but then we still take that information and make it work for our economy or our local demographics. They're collecting the data, we still have to look at what our sales are showing, you know, how residentials or how commercials are actually selling. Our goal is to put 100% of market value on the property, so really the first step in doing that accurately is having good data behind it. So the contract is to show that we will have, or they guarantee getting 75% entry rate to commercial industrial properties. So I mean, they do a very thorough job of getting good and accurate information on it.
So there's no penalty or consequence if someone refuses to allow them in, or what happens then? Can you just?
If you do refuse entry, I mean, it's in code that you should assist the assessor in listing and letting us do our job, basically. Well, I guess the recourse we have is we basically can make an estimate on the valuation
Right.
of the property from the street and add 100% to that value. So, you know, I mean, I could guess that this building's worth $1 million and then add another $1 million to that. By law, I could do that, and then it would take the property owner to, you know,
To
appeal
appeal,
that
yeah.
if they had to. So, yeah, I mean, you hear that a lot. People don't let the assessor in.
Do you
But-
get that? Do you get that a lot?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Only when it's mad.
Yeah.
He's a sweetheart. Why would they
Yeah,
not
I
let
mean,
that in?
people, you know, yeah, they think if we come in, everything's gonna go up, but there's a lot of times we go to properties and
Yeah.
we might show, it's been 1998 since we were in there, we're showing it in very good condition, and 20 years later, it's not in very good condition anymore, so.
Yeah.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, it does, and your best bet is to cooperate with us, and so we have an accurate assessment of what your property is.
Please, folks,
Yeah.
please.
You know, and then the commercial industrial will be a little bit easier. I mean, we're gonna actually mail letters to each property owner. The residential is gonna take a lot more public relations work on my end, and we'll be working through that here in the next couple of years.
Thank
so.
you, that's good.
How long of a process, how long is this going to take from start to finish?
So we're gonna start this fall. They'll be done with all the collection, and we're going to go live 1/1 of 2018 for commercial industrial. And then, at the same time we're finishing up commercial, we'll be doing the residential listing, and we'll go live for that in 2019. And, you know, at that time, we actually have informal hearings for property owners, because there's so much, there'll be a lot of change.
Yeah.
Up and down, you know, so. Yeah, it's definitely a lengthy process, but it's definitely, like I said, it's vital for us to be able to provide equitable assessments on property, and that's what we're here to do, so. But yeah, I just also want to just keep that line of communication open with the council. If you have any questions on assessments, come to my office, the assessor's office. Some people go to the county supervisors, but really, my office is overseen by the conference board, which has the mayors involved with it. The board of supervisors is just 1/3 of the entity that oversees the assessor's office. So you know, that's what I'm there for. I'd rather answer the questions and, you know, have people come directly to me on any issues they might have with it, so.
The word is you got a pretty nice copy machine down there too.
Well, maybe we do. So,
Any other questions?
any other questions, and yeah, feel free to get a hold of me anytime throughout this process. If you hear people complaining or anything like that, or questions, you know, my door's open, so.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done. Okay, let's get out of here. Mr. Chislin? Councilwoman Wilson?
I'm good, thank you.
Councilman Scott?
Any idea why Amtrak started blowing their horn this week and have been blowing it every day?
No?
Really?
You wanna check on that?
Haven't heard that.
It's been literally every day, and, at all the crossings.
Huh,
So, excuse me.
And it's not been the traditional, you know, toot, 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 it's
They've been laying
just
on it?
been, it's just been different. It's been different lengths of time and different at each intersection. I don't know what's going on there, but,
And it's an Amtrak, not BSN.
no, just Amtrak. BNSF has still been quiet.
Is it because he came and did a training with you guys?
Okay, I forgot to mention, and
Not
I,
done yet.
oh, go ahead.
What? The Parks Department is planning on cutting down the trees in the 200 block of Jefferson Street. And they've gone way, way, way beyond where they were supposed to be, and I'm glad to see that's going to happen. But I'd sure like to take advantage of this time if we can find any way to do it and get that block redone, not put any more trees in there, and try to plan it, try to work it into the plan. With the police department coming on board, there's really a lot of work that needs to be done there, and additional parking that
Yeah.
could be found down there if
Yeah.
we could get it worked in. So, you know, it may take 2 or 3 years to actually do the construction, but before we put new trees in there, can we look at the potential for a plan of doing something there other than
that
throwing
makes
some more
sense.
trees in there to just
Good
cut
idea.
them down in a couple of years?
Yeah,
Good idea.
good idea.
Chief likes it.
Eric.
The other, oh, I'm sorry.
I'll just say, Eric, where are you at with trying to get something done on parking study? Or a committee that was supposed to look at this? 'cause
Talk to
we haven't
Charlie,
done
hopefully in the next week or two, we'll have a committee together and start to bring recommendations forward, so.
Please.
Yeah, just staff time's been limited on the last few months, but it's something Charlie and I have talked about, is getting that committee forward and starting to meet and bring recommendations forward to the council. And then on the trees, we have talked about, right now it's just the trees in the planter areas, those are starting to crack, and they're, like you mentioned, 10 years beyond their useful life. So the 6 in the planters are the only ones coming out right now, but obviously we could take any others out down the road if need be as well, so.
Yeah, we've kind of thought of this as being a good opportunity, not knowing where community support is. And we want to make sure that this goes through a process where it gets talked about with that committee. But you're going to need to come up over a period of time to have some discussion about that, so. Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right, thank you. That's good information. I had one other thing. Had to do some work on South Main Street, and I couldn't find the address because the address wasn't on the house. And neither was it on the house next door. It was 1254 and 1256 South Main. I know at one time we had the fire department going through town and with a program called Your Number's Up. I wonder if we can hit that again, because it seems that a lot of people have been doing some remodeling to their homes and stuff. They don't put their addresses back up, and I can imagine what a nightmare it is for police and fire when they're trying to respond to a call, because I know it is for me, and it's important because you see, like in Gunnison Street, for instance, in the 500 block, it goes like 513, 517, 525, 519. So there's no rhyme or reason to the numbers there. Somebody built a house and they give it the wrong address. But that's one that I know of, but I know there's others in town that are like that. So it's real important that those addresses be visible from the street. So that was it.
Okay, the only thing I had was, one, I went down to the steeple lighting. I thought that was phenomenal, and there was a nice crowd of people down there, really looked nice, and even got some compliments about that from people that flew over, so good deal on that. Also want to thank the Miss Iowa Youth Pageant for letting me participate in that. It'll be the last time they ever asked me to do something like that. But it was a good time, and I want to say congratulations to the new Miss Iowa Youth, Burlington, and Des Moines County. So I forgot to bring their names down. Cute little kids, did a fantastic job. Took a lot of guts. I never had guts like that. And then the only other thing is school hours. As kids are walking to and from school, just remember to keep your speed down. Let's be thoughtful in that. Mayor Pro Tem,
Go, Mr. Fleming.
Nothing here at this time.
you reserve the right. City Manager.
Paint-a-thon next week. I know the
Already?
staff has a house that we're committed to working on next Thursday. Those of you who have an opportunity to be involved somewhere, please make sure you take advantage of that. And the only other thing I had was meetings, radio meetings next month. Next week is supposed to be mine. Given the Labor Day weekend and moving back council meeting, we have attorney meeting and staff meeting typically on that Wednesday morning. Would it be possible to switch Wednesdays and me do the following one?
Sure.
Yeah. Who would like to,
Are you gonna be,
I'll be here in town, but I'll be here.
Then you're
That's, the league is that next week, but we don't have a session that's early enough that I need to.
I haven't been on for quite a while, so
Okay, we got the one senior. Anybody?
I haven't been for a while, if nobody else has a desire.
Okay, we're good.
and this will be for when then?
Next
September
Wednesday.
7th?
So, yeah,
September 7th.
September 7th.
Okay.
Don't let me forget.
and I know that Nick had sent an email out in regards to RFP review for engineering services for sewer master plan. Is that right?
Mount
No.
Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant Street, if I can get the right project. We need to get the sewer master plan. We've talked with some different firms about that one. Okay, so Mount Pleasant Street. So, I think we had 2 volunteers, Jim and Tim. That review, responses are due back on September 7th. So we'll be, after we get those, I guess Nick will coordinate getting dates for doing the reviews, and if we're gonna do interviews with firms, getting those coordinated. And that other part, we do need to do an overall sewer master plan. We've kind of brought that up a little bit. We've met with one firm, I think we meet with another one tomorrow to have some discussions about the topic. Nick's been working on a draft, RFP for for that, service or project. I don't know how far along he is, but we're hoping, I think, to get something out in the next couple of months, maybe? October-ish. So that will be something that will become forthcoming. And as we talk about that, the sewer master plan, we've done an awful lot of sewer plans. Had to do an overall CSO study. We've done each basin, but we haven't looked at an overall system that looked at the flows for the whole system, that looked at the capacity of the plant and the system and potential growth in different areas, and how to make sure that we're investing money in the appropriate locations just to make sure everything works well, not just now, but into the future.
Well done. Oh, one more thing before we wrap up. For those of you that are cutting your grass, don't just blow the grass out into the street, please. Please, people. All right. Sorry, I had to throw that in. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
we had a complaint about that even on one of our city projects, and we think we ended up sending the street sweeper out to get that taken care of, and had a discussion with the
There's a house
contractor who
down
does
by-
that.
Just down from my house, and it was obvious that, I don't know if that was the one you're talking about, but man, they had grass all over the
No,
place.
we did it ourselves, so, and it's somebody that mows it's a contracted piece, and it's been done by the same contractor for quite a while, and he usually does a pretty good job, not having that left, but for whatever reason, a couple of weeks ago, that he didn't. And I don't have anything else.
Nothing else? Okay.
Thank you, council.
This meeting is,
Adjourned.
thank you very much.